Hello, I'm Jennifer Grace, and today I'm going to show you how to make this egg hunt layout. I made a lot of the items for today using the Cricut Explore, so I've loaded up Design Space, and I'm going to choose a canvas by clicking the Photo Memories option and then picking Scrapbook Layouts. This will give me a 12 by 12 background, and I can change the colour to match the colour of cardstock that I'm going to use. This is the photo that I'm going to be scrapbooking with today, and I'm going to just insert an image of a rectangle to represent my photo. So when I'm designing the page, I'm making sure I'm leaving space for the photo there. So I've just chosen a rectangle and I'm resizing it to be about 4 by 6 because that's the size of my photo. Just changing it to white because it's a nice neutral colour. Got to do that in the layers panel. And then I'm going to insert another piece. At first I choose a rectangle, but then I change it to a square because I am planning to put a piece of 6 by 6 patterned paper behind the photo. So I just insert a square and resize that to 6 by 6. Again, this is just so that I can plan out my page right, make sure I don't block off these pieces which I know I want to use. I'm thinking I might use a light brown, golden brown kind of colour piece, so I change it to a colour that I think I might use. I do end up changing my mind, but it gives me an idea of where I'm starting. So I place those on my page, and then it's time to add some more items. So first of all, I'm going to do some eggs. I choose item M54A6F, which is these 5 eggs. They have an overlay on top of them, which I don't need, so I hide all the overlays by clicking the eye icon, and then I ungroup the eggs by right clicking and choosing ungroup, so that I've got 5 separate eggs. And then I resize them and keep duplicating and resizing them, spreading them around down the left hand side of my page. I just want a scattered eggs look. You can tell I've sped this up quite a lot because it took me a bit longer. Once I'm happy with those, I move the paper and photo out of the way, drag a box over all the eggs and attach them together, just so that they will all cut out in that pattern. Otherwise the machine would automatically align them all together to save space on the paper. Then I search for bunting because I want some bunting at the top, and I realise that's not an American word for it. I have to search for banners. And I find one that I like. I just quickly scroll down to check there's not a different one that I like better, but I'm quite happy with that one, so I insert that. I realise it's got 2 layers, so I hide one of the layers by clicking the eye icon again. Means it won't cut that layer out. And then I stretch that one about. I have to click the padlock icon to allow me to stretch it in a different direction. And then once I'm happy with the size of that, I go to add something else. I want to add a title. So I search for the words egg hunt in case there's already a ready-made title I could use. And then I try the word Easter in case there's something related to it that I could use. And then I just try eggs. But I don't find any titles that I like. So I decide that I will just add it by text. So I click to add text and type in my words egg hunt, and then I change the font to Songbird because that's one I've used before and I know it will overlap nicely so that I can weld the letters together and have it all cut as one thing rather than lots of individual letters. So change it to Songbird, make it a bit larger so I can see what's going on, and I decrease the letter spacing to make those letters overlap. So I just keep decreasing it more and more until they are starting to join up. Then I ungroup the letters so they're all individual letters, and I move some of them closer together. Some of them were already overlapping okay, and others needed a little bit nudging to make them a bit closer together. Once I'm happy with it, I drag a box over the top and then click the weld option in the layers panel to join those letters all together. So now the word egg and the word hunt will cut out as words rather than as individual letters. I changed that to a colour that I think I might use for my title. And then I also changed the colour of the eggs to white. They're actually going to be all different colours because I'm going to paint them, but white's a nice neutral colour to just help me imagine what's going on here. Then I want to add a few more details, so I search for bunny. I want to add another bunny in here because the kids were mostly wearing bunny masks in the photo that I'm using. So I click on a few different bunny images that I like, and then I insert them in so I can start to visualise them on my page. I decide that this orange bunny and the circle with the whole bunny cut out don't overlap very well over the other details I've got. I quite like this one because it looks like the bunny masks that the kids were wearing in the photo, but I realised that the empty eyes kind of freaked me out a little bit. I'd have to put some eyes in, whereas this one hasn't got eyes, so it's okay. I don't know why, but it is. So I decided I quite like this one. It overlaps nicely with the edge of the 6x6 paper as well. So I get that positioned, change the colour again to a colour I think I might use, just because I'm checking how it's all going together. And then I want to add a journaling tag. So I search journal, but that doesn't bring anything up. I search tag, which brings up lots of lovely tags, but none of them have got lines on. I'd quite like one with lines on for writing journaling. And when I realised there's not any under the tag option, I tried journaling, which brings up no results at all. So I give up and go back to tag and decide that I'm going to have to put my own lines on. If anybody knows if there's any journaling cards with lines on in the Cricut design space, please let me know. So I choose this tag, which is MFCC29. All these codes will be in the description in YouTube. And then I insert a line. It's actually a score line, but I just click on the little score icon in the layers panel next to the line and change it to write instead of score. So it's now going to write it on so that I can just use my Cricut pen to draw lines on my journaling card. I duplicate that and I get it the right size first and then duplicate it. So I've got 3 lines, fiddle around with them a little bit until I think they're in the right place. Then I want to attach it. I realise that I need to move the blue piece out of the way so that it's just attaching to the cream piece of paper. So then I drag a box over that, attach the lines to the cream piece, and then group that back on top of the blue piece of the tag. So it's all ready to go. I just check all the sizes are okay, and then I'm ready to click go. But when I'm looking at the map preview screen, I realise that I should have got rid of the rectangle and the square piece that were my photo and piece of 6x6 paper, because I don't actually want those to cut. So go back and hide those and then go to my map preview. I need to move the eggs over a bit so that they're going to cut in the right place on my scrapbook layout. Here's what I cut out. So I did have a yellow title and teal background, but I decided I didn't like that. So I went and cut a wood grain paper background and a sort of minty green title instead. Then I was ready to start creating. So I'm just chopping off the bottom strip of the wood grain paper background. I decided I liked this wood grain paper because it was just a bit more neutral. The teal greeny colour was just a bit overwhelming. It took over the photo, especially I knew once I'd coloured these eggs in. So I've just drawn the eggs lightly with pencil, so I know where I need to fill it up with colours. And then I'm going to start decorating all these eggs. So this was inspired by all the different pretty eggs that I've seen in my Pinterest feed. Different watercolour eggs and glitter eggs and washi tape eggs and all kinds of things. I kept thinking, oh, I love that, I love that. I knew I wouldn't have time to decorate lots of actual eggs, so I decided it would work quite well on a scrapbook page. It gives me a chance to try out all the different techniques without having to blow out lots of eggs. and spend time fiddling around with lots of eggs drying, and it looks pretty. So I'm starting off with a bluey green watercolour egg. So I've just given it a bit of a wash. I'm letting the colours bleed into each other a bit, so I'm not letting them dry in between putting on the blue and the green. It helps them just kind of merge together a little bit. Zoomed in a bit so you can see this one a bit easier. So now I'm doing pink. The pink blob that you can already see here was actually dry because my video camera ran out of battery and I had to wait a little while before I could record some more. But the rest of it I'm just kind of mixing together. So I'm adding a bit of yellow onto this pinky colour, and again I'm going to just sort of let it bleed together a little bit just to give it that good watercolour mottled effect. I'm going to be adding some more layers to these a bit later, but that's the kind of bottom layer for them. Just going to add a little bit of blue. So the blue here is already dried as well, so I'm adding another layer on top of the dried layer. Just a kind of speckled effect. Sorry, I'm doing the egg at the top of the screen. I didn't realise that it wasn't in the screen, but I'm pretty much doing the same as what I'm doing on the small egg, just dotting some patches of blue around it. Add a little bit more to the pink egg. The fun with watercolours is that you're never really sure what effect you're going to end up with, but it's good fun to play around with it, see what patterns evolve. So I'm just adding a little bit more, a few more speckles here and there, and then I'm going to work on a couple of the other eggs. So I'm using some Martha Stewart satin craft paint to just give a block colour to a couple of the eggs, and I'm going to add some polka dots to these later on. So this is just a nice light green spring-like colour. Next I'm going to make some glitter eggs. This is one of the favourite kind of eggs that I saw on Pinterest. So I'm just applying quite a thick layer of Mod Podge over the egg. It needs to be quite thick so that the glitter has got something to stick onto. Then I'm just tipping gold glitter all over it, nice thick splodge of glitter. And I'm going to do another egg as well. This time I'm going to use pink glitter. You can see I'm going for a nice colourful page. So I've got to leave those to dry for a bit, but I'm going to paint another egg while I'm waiting. So this one I'm using some more satin craft paint, but in yellow, and I'm just going to paint a little chick on the middle of the egg. This is something I've seen again on Pinterest. Somebody had done it with their kids, getting them to paint a little chick on an egg, which I thought was a lovely idea. So I'm going to have a little chick in this egg. I cleaned off my brush and things and left that to dry for a while, and now I'm tipping off the excess glitter. So it probably took an hour and a half or so for that to dry. You have to be careful here to tip off the gold glitter in a different direction to the pink glitter so you don't get them all mixed up. But once they're done, I'm going to tip that off, and now I'm going to make a washi tape egg. So I'm just literally tearing off a couple of bits of washi tape and sticking them on an egg. I put it on this egg over on the right hand side to start with, but I changed my mind and I end up moving it over to the left hand side. That's because I want to use a gold marker on another egg, and I want the gold marker egg to be on the opposite side to the gold glitter egg, if that makes sense. It makes sense to me. Might not to you, but it does to me. So now I'm just using a gold marker at the top half of this egg. I'm going to zoom in a bit so you can see it better, and I'm using a pro marker on the bottom half to just colour it orange, just adding some little golden crosses to the bottom half on top of the pro marker. So there we go. Now I'm adding some white polka dots to the green eggs, just with a white uniball marker, and I'm going to add the details to the chick, little feet, eyes and a beak coloured in with orange. Ended up going up over those black bits again later on. I'm not sure if I filmed that, so I did go over them again, I think. I just checked to make sure that the eggs all looked right. Oh yeah, this was why I went over it again. I smudged the black ink. So I wiped it off with a baby wipe and did it again. I might have gone over it again though. I realised you could see some pencil marks, so I tried to rub them out, but it didn't really work because there was paint on top of them. So I figured I would stick the wood grain paper on, see which pencil marks I could see and work out how to combat that. So I had to stick lots of double-sided sticky tape everywhere to adhere my wood grain paper on top of the eggs. I would have much preferred to have my Herma repositionable tape runner to do this bit, but I've run out, so I had to use this, which almost caused an epic fail in a moment. So I stuck this double-sided tape everywhere, peeled it all off, started pressing the wood grain paper on and realised it was in totally the wrong place. And you'll see in a moment that I tried to rip it back off again, but it was literally ripping. The paper was ripping. I was getting stressed. But I just kind of managed to twist it a little bit, enough that it wasn't completely out of alignment, but it did mean that there were some white gaps around the edges of the eggs, and my paper was a bit more bobbly than it should have been, and I ripped the bottom left corner of the pink egg. Oh, epic fail, disaster. But it's okay, it all worked out in the end. So you can see here a couple of the white gaps. So I came back in with my paints again to try and cover up the pencil marks and fill in the white gaps. Now if you end up having to do this too, obviously just be really careful not to paint onto the wood grain paper on the top. So just use little bits of paint at a time, go really gently and slowly. I was going slowly, I have sped this up a lot. I've zoomed in a bit so you can see what I'm doing. In the end you could still see the pencil marks very faintly through the paint, but you'd have to be looking for it to notice it, so it was okay in the end. Though I do end up going over the pink egg at the edges with a pink gel pen in a minute, because you could see the pencil marks through the pink a bit more than you could through the blue. But I quite liked this effect of a bit more darker paint around the bottom of the eggs as well, so it was a fail that turned into a good thing. I like how it gives them a kind of shadow around the bottom of the egg. I had to do the same with the green eggs. It was only along the bottom edges of the eggs, just where the wood grain paper had gone a bit out of alignment. You could see a bit of white space and more pencil marks than you should have been able to see. So I covered those up again. I have to redo the polka dots in a minute too. I also went over some of the orange on the bottom of the gold marker egg. I mixed up a paint colour to kind of match the colour of the pro marker, because the pro marker wouldn't have covered up the pencil marks that you could see. Now I'm just adding a bit more Mod Podge and glitter to the two glitter eggs as well, because a few parts had shaken off. I'm not sure if it was because the glue wasn't quite dry when I shook the glitter off before, or if I hadn't done the Mod Podge thick enough in the first place. But since I put the second layer on, nothing's come off since then. Well, little bits have come off, but nothing to affect the colour of the glitter. Okay, so while I'm waiting for that glitter to dry, I'm going to start placing some of the other pieces on my page. I'm doing the journaling card first, sticking the cream part onto the blue part. Now I'm sticking my photo onto my piece of 6x6 patterned paper. You can see I chose a pink stripy piece of patterned paper, and I'm putting it nearer to the edge of the page than I was planning, because I had planned that the journaling card would overlap one of the eggs, but I decided I didn't want it to do that because I like my eggs too much. Oh, here's where I'm going over the edge of the pink eggs with a gel pen, just to make sure those pencil lines aren't noticeable. This hid them quite well actually. Now I'm going to tip off the glitter, so I had left it to dry again for a bit, probably about an hour, and I just need to stick all the rest of the things back down. So I stick the journaling card on first because that is the back layer. I mark it with a pencil just down the edge that's going to be hidden, so I know where to place it. And I just double check it with a ruler as well. Not that it would be easy to move, seeing as I had to use double-sided sticky tape to stick it down. It would have been a bit of a disaster if I would have had to move it, but it was okay. Now I'm sticking down the paper, but I haven't peeled the back of the double-sided sticky tape yet because I realise I need to put my bunny tag on. So I find a piece of twine to thread through the bunny tag. I stick a couple of little tiny bits of double-sided tape at the top of the bunny tag to hold it in place on the 6x6 paper. So it's got the string going through it. Then I turn the paper over and stick those ends of twine onto the back of the 6x6 paper. Then I'm ready to peel off the rest of the double-sided sticky tape and stick that piece of 6x6 paper onto the page. Now I'm doing the title. I'm using this sticker maker, the Xyron 150, and just pushed the words through that so that they're all nice and sticky all over, and I can adhere them to the page. Took a little bit of manoeuvring to get them in the right place, so I didn't press them all down firmly straight away until I'd wriggled them a bit. I stopped the video while I was getting them all lined up because I stuck my head right over the page to make sure they were lined up nicely. Now I'm just adding a sprinkle of dots. I end up moving some of these around, but first I just find something to cover up the tear that I created in the bottom left of the big pink egg. I found a wooden button to stick over that, so that was okay. But it did kind of make the page less level, so I have to move things around in a bit. But first I'm filling out my journaling, just about how this is our first Easter egg hunt we've did in our own garden. My kids were very excited about it. I add a "This is happening" sticker to the right hand side, literally just because I had quite a lot of dark pinks over on the bottom left, especially with that dark pink button covering up the tear mark. So I added that dark pink sticker over onto the right hand side just to level things up a bit. Then I'm also adding some more dots at the top right for the same reason, just to kind of level up this weight of the page. Although I do end up adding quite a few other things, so we'll see how it goes. I'm just going around my title with pencil because I felt like it didn't stand out enough. I didn't want to go around it with pen because I didn't want it to be really bold, so I just used a pencil, which gives it a quite nice pale edge, but it just gives it a little bit more definition. I added a couple of butterfly stickers because I felt like the page was too round. There was quite curvy eggs and lots of round dots, a round bunny tag, so I added a couple of butterflies because they were a different shape. Just gave the page some more edges. Then I wanted something to go under the title, again to define it a bit more, so I used this border sticker It's like a diamond pattern on it. And I used 3D foam dots to stick that on, because I'd also used them to stick the bunting at the top of the page on. So it meant it wasn't only the top of the page that had this extra dimension. Just going over my white polka dots because I'd had to paint over some of them. And then I decided I want a little speech bubble for the chick, because there was a bit of a gap at the left hand side of the page there, where the eggs kind of weren't spaced out quite right. So I just painted a wooden speech bubble with some white satin paint and waited for it to dry for a moment. Then I used some glossy accents to stick the speech bubble onto the page, and then I added a little heart in the speech bubble. I did think about using letter stickers or something like that, but in the end I just decided a nice little heart would be quite cute. So I popped that on there. And then that was it, my page was finished. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I hope it's inspired you to make some mixed media eggs or something like that. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you, goodbye for now.